3 haunted locations in Germany. Number 3, Castle Wolfsag, Germany. This castle was originally built in the 13th century by Ulrich von Lauber. It originally was set to be a stronghold on top of a hill, but it later became a housing for wary travelers. The most common sighting for this haunted castle, though, is Clara von Helfstein, the wife of Ulrich. Legend has it that the two had a strained marriage where she was searching for company with other men. When Ulrich found this out, he sent local farmers to go and slay his wife. But, contrary to belief, they still think that she outlived him by a couple years. There have been numerous sightings of her roaming the halls in the castle as well as her own bedchamber. The most common occurrences that happen inside the castle are EMF readings, light anomalies, full body apparitions, and even dark shadows crawling down the walls. Another mysterious entry for this castle is the outskirts where the woods are. The woods outside the castle is house to another legend as well. This one housed the hole. Inside the hole has been thought to have been a beast that roams, and this was even further portrayed by Ulrich and his sons when they went out to the woods and never to be seen again. Adding more of a validity, most people tend to think that it's wolves around, but the large amount of bones has been kind of speculation for them, as well as the howls are not of wolf descent or any predator in that area. I'm kind of on the fence about this one myself just because of how little information we have on it. Even the history on this castle has been shrouded. I leave this one up to you guys to make your own decision. My personal opinion is it's not, but shrouded in local legend. Number 2, Castle Verdenfels, Bavaria. Castle Verdenfels was located in the Bavarian Alps and it was constructed around 1200 CE to an unknown owner. In 1249, the ownership was granted to Prince Bishopric of Freising. The area around it was called Freising Territory until it got the rename of County of Verdenfels, and it served as the judicial and administrative building. But sometime after, with financial loss, they had to end off the castle during the 15th century. During the 1590s, Verdenfels Castle had seen its influx of witch trials that had seen the death of up to 600 supposed witches. And during this time, after the witch trials and later the castle becoming a bit of a hotspot for this, they decided to take many of the stone blocks that were built from it and use them as Baroque parishes of Farchant and Germinch. In 1822, the Bavaria's Privy Council acquired the castle, and it was handed over slightly beforehand to the whole kingdom of Bavaria. Reconstruction had started in 1905, but problem was they had a whole castle made of almost nothing but limestone, made it incredibly hard to work with, and also imprinting from all the witch trials that happened 400 years almost. The original owner's name was not known at the time, still is unknown. However, we do know the wife, her name was Sieglinde, and she was at that castle by herself under the protection of a knight because her husband got pulled away into the Crusades. The knight that was supposed to be keeping Sieglinde safe had been making advances towards her. She refused, and she was thrown into the castle's dungeon, where she stayed until her husband came back from the Crusades scarred and bloodied. After this, she stayed in the castle dungeon so long that She was unaware that he had made it home. She had sadly lost her life shortly after. Because of the knight throwing Sieglinde into the dungeon, the Lord came back, slew him, but he was never the same afterwards. And even to this day, people say you can hear Sieglinde singing into the full moons as if she's still around to this day. Number 1. Castle Eltz, Verschem, Germany. Originally built in 1157, the first portion of this castle was actually built as a manor, and more had been added on. The addition was called a Gannenbenbergen, and it was when all three or more family decided to conglomerate into one single unit, but they still had their own living spaces. The three houses that came together to make this Castle Eltz was Kempnich, Rubenack, and Rodendorf houses. At this time, two of the three houses you can go and visit from April to November, but one-third still use their house to this day. At the time, Archbishop Baldwin had his own plans to create a siege castle himself just off of the shore, and that was called Trutzelt's Castle, and it has been since destroyed, despite having Eltz Castle still standing to this day. During the 15th century, the Count and Countess had a young girl born of all boys, and her name was Agnes Eltz. She enjoyed playing warriors with her brothers. Despite her enjoying being one of the boys, she still was technically a princess, and her suitor, he was the Knight of Braunsberg. He had unfortunately forced himself on her by kissing her, and as a result, she proceeded to slap him. When things got heated between them, she walked away. He waited for months and months until all of her family had been out and it was just her and the guards. During the siege that Braunsberg Knight had started, Agnes had decided she was going to take her brother's helmet, armor, and battle axe and try to stop the siege herself. Upon seeing Agnes in the armor, the knight had no idea and he thought it was just a standard knight or guards person. So he propped his crossbow and primed it to shoot at Agnes, which he did, unfortunately striking and killing her instantly. He simply had no idea who he had slain until he pulled the helmet off and seen that it was Agnes under the helmet. Supposedly, the most haunted room in the Eltz Castle is the Countess's room herself, which is where Agnes was staying. The armor, helmet, and battle axe are still propped up in that room to this day. Multiple sounds and unexplained and disembodied voices have been heard inside the castle, mostly children's laughing, lights turning on and off, doors opening and closing, as well as a spectral knight can be found inside the courtyard, which most believe that it is the Knight of Bromsberg to seek forgiveness for shooting Agnes when he had no idea. So, which of these did you find interesting, and did you know or not know? If you have anything to add that I might have overlooked during any of my research, please put them in the comments below. And if you like what I do, consider liking and subscribing. And remember, if you have a bunch of friends, you can make your own castle as well. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.